Well, Real Madrid won La Decima in that jersey, and it's very interesting that this jersey looks a lot like that jersey, and we're trying to go for La Decimoquinta. I'm just saying, think about it. But I did want to do a breakdown, or not a breakdown, but kind of like an analysis, a conversation, I don't know, about the Champions League final, right? Like, this is what the season has been building up for, at least for Real Madrid. And there are a lot of really interesting storylines coming from both sides. So let's talk about it. Let's start by talking about Borussia Dortmund and their path to the Champions League final. And I think it's a very interesting one, specifically because, like, for the longest time, Borussia Dortmund has had that second place locked up in the Bundesliga without a shadow of a doubt. Everyone knew that Bayern was going to win. Everyone knew that Dortmund was going to come in second place. And then spots 3 to 8 were up for competition when it comes to the rest of European football. And this year is not that way, right? Not only are Bayern and Dortmund not in the top two, with Leverkusen and Stuttgart finishing first and second, but Dortmund are all the way down there and in fifth, and they have struggled mightily this year when it comes to their domestic competitions. That being said, you can't really say that about their battles in the Champions League, because while they topped their group at Group F, they won 3, drew 2, and lost 1 game, ending with 11 points, taking the number 1 spot in Group F. And then when we look at their path in the Champions League, they had to go through PSV in the round of 16, which they did very handedly, 3-1 over both of those legs. Then they played an Atletico Madrid, and let us not forget, the only team that has beaten Real Madrid this year is Atletico Madrid, and they were able to beat them in 2 legs, 5-4, especially with how well they played in that second leg. Go through PSG, keeping them scoreless, and now they're in the final, and they're playing a very interesting style of football, and they've got a lot of really, really fun and exciting players. And when you take into consideration the story of, Jadon Sancho and all the stuff that happened with Man U, and basically Ten Hag kicking him to the curb, and now he's in a Champions League final. Marco Reus going into his final year at Dortmund and possibly having the dedication, the commitment to that club finally paying off. Like, as a Real Madrid fan, I love the stories that are coming out of Dortmund, but when you look at the path that Real Madrid had to the Champions League final, I think it is just as impressive as Borussia Dortmund having to go through. Like, let's not forget that Group F was the group of death, right? Newcastle, AC Milan, Paris Saint-Germain. Like, it was the group of death. But Real Madrid had to get down to business and get their things going, and they did. They got a relatively easy group, and I think that's something that did help the team, and especially when you take into consideration the injury issues that Real Madrid had. Group C, getting Braga and Union Berlin, was a really good pull for them. And Napoli, I thought, was going to play better than they actually did, and they didn't, and I was very disappointed with how Napoli played, if we're being honest. But then when we got to the knockout rounds, right, in the round of 16, you pull up against Leipzig. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it's RB Leipzig. Like, let's not forget that RB Leipzig gave Real Madrid fits in both legs. And when we won that game, we kind of walked away very lucky that we won that game. They're 4th in the Bundesliga this year, going back to European football, and well-deservingly so. It sucks that RB Leipzig is probably about to get raided when it comes to this summer transfer window. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep any of their players, with rumors like Xavi Simons going back to Barca, like all of that stuff. But that's a conversation for a different video. And then having to match up against Man City in the quarterfinal and squeaking through and winning on penalties and, suffering through defense. And a lot of people were like, oh, the better team didn't win and whatever. I didn't have a channel at that time, so I can't argue all of those points, but then going on against Bayern Munich, who are struggling in the Bundesliga, but like they were really dominant in the Champions League this year and kind of beating Arsenal relatively handedly, beating Lazio relatively easily, and giving Real Madrid fits and getting us into a position where now we get to go up against arguably our easiest opponent in this knockout stage, and in the conversation for maybe the second easiest opponent, maybe third easiest opponent over the entire tournament. And that's where I think my biggest concern is that you can't go into this game thinking Dortmund is going to be an easy win, because they can play and they have stories and things that they're playing for. And the good thing is that so does Real Madrid. You heard this from Pep Guardiola when he was talking about his Manchester City after they won the Premier League, and about how it's hard for him to find motivation to keep going on. And I found that very, very strange coming from supposed to be one of the world's elite managers. Like, you should never be tired of winning. Winning should always be the standard. That's something that I had an argument with a buddy of mine on a podcast that we do. If you're interested in our podcast, we do a podcast called Tactical Foul. The link will be in the description. But I found it very interesting, because like that's the standard here at Real Madrid, right? Like there's never enough. There's always something else to do. Okay, you won the Champions League, go win the double. Okay, you won the double, go win the treble, which we've never done, right? But there's always a reason to keep winning. That's why we have 14 Champions Leagues, and that like the team is synonymous with winning. But I do feel like the Toni Kroos announcing his retirement is a great motivational piece for this team, because you want to win one more for Toni. One more. Just get one more trophy for everything that he's done for the club. Get one more. And so I am very interested to see how this game is going to play. The one thing that I will say is, tactically, do not let Dortmund get up and get up early. Don't let them score early on you. We know that they have the pace on like the wings and in the midfield to try and take advantage of some of the spacing options that Real Madrid might have, but take advantage of the fact that we have the pace up top. Vini and Rodrigo are world-class forwards. Take advantage of the space that Borussia Dortmund leaves with their backfield, with their back four, and their midfield with their high press. We have the midfielders that can possess the ball through their high press, and we have the speed to attack up top. But we cannot let Dortmund get up and get up early, because if they fall into that low block and create the great wall of yellow Borussia Dortmund, I do have a hard time seeing Real Madrid breaking through that, even with all of the quality that we have with people who can score goals at every level. If I had to make my prediction, I think that this game is going to be a tight one, and historically, Champions League finals don't really end or have a ton of excitement in them, but I think the game ends 1-0, and you know what? Toni Kroos is going to win the game winner. And let me know in the comment section, I think this is a really interesting conversation at least to have, is at the end of the game, I expect that Toni Kroos is going to take off his 8 and give it to somebody. Who do you think that he's going to give the number 8 to? If I had to make my guess, I think he's going to give it to Valverde. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you guys think? Who do you think is going to win? Is this the jersey that wins the 15th Champions League for Real Madrid? I don't know. Let me know in the comment section, and I'll see you when I see you.